Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Labor's Live Show. I'm your host, Tony Staten. It's Friday, and I'm here on WURD 900 AM. You're also tuning in on 96.1 FM. I am here representing the business managers and members of the Labor's District Council. You can stream us live also on WURD Facebook page or wordradio.com. And we share the feed also, guys. So if you want to look at us on, or watch us rather, on our Lecet Facebook page, it's Lecet, Lecet, Philly, the number 5 county. And we're available there live streaming also. The calling number is 215-634-8065 or 1-866-361 0900. And hello, folks. How are you? I'm waiting for my guests to call in, but right now we are still continual to celebrate the Women's History Month today. And for the entire month of March, we're going to have women on. We're using our Labor's Live platform, like I said last week, to bring awareness about the incarcerated females. And as I stated before, the Laborers are one of the largest unions in the building trade who employ black and brown people who have some dealings with criminal justice system, namely those who have been incarcerated. You know, you can always call us the Union of Second Chances, which we enjoy and love being there for folks who might not have had a chance, you know, somewhere else. We are there, the unions, to help those that we can. Now, we can't help everybody, but those that we can help, we want to make sure that we're able to, you know, supply them with benefits, with good pension, with those benefits, health and welfare, in addition to everything that comes with it. But we want hard-working individuals who also understand and respect the word when you talk about union, when you talk about brother and sisterhood, when you talk about, you know, working together as for one cause. You know, the unions are strong today just like they were years ago, and we like to continue, and we want to continue that. I'm so excited that we have our guests. I'm excited about the guests that were on last week. If you were listening, the women incarcerated, we had a female on who was one of our own members of Labor's District Council, Labor's Local 332 member, Ann Grice. We also had a young lady that served time with her. Her name was Wanye. She's from Atlantic City and told us their stories. You know, they talked about their strength and their courage, and we're going to have 2 more ladies that's going to discuss their experience and also continue the conversation. Like I said before, these women are the unforgotten faces of incarceration, the women and their stories that they're sharing. So please be encouraged, learn something. You know, have a sympathetic ear and understand a lot of the needs that the women aren't receiving, programs and certain resources that they need outside that are separate from men. Yes, men need it too, but you need to hear and understand these stories of women who we do not hear from. So these women have the courage and the strength to come on the show and use this platform to tell their story, to bring awareness. And we just want to, you know, it's not just me. They want to be able to touch, you know, some young lady out there who may be in dealings that she shouldn't be and listening to the show, or a mother, an aunt, or grandmother of hers is listening to the show, and talk to her, bring her closer to you. With that being said, one of the ladies that's going to join us, she's on with us now, and her name is Tiffany Volcane. Hi, Tiffany. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us, Tiffany. I appreciate you. And we have a second guest coming on, Sadia Bagley, a little later. Both of these women are 2 extraordinary women with different backgrounds that they faced years in prison, but also, you know, they had young children, you know, outside that needed that they needed to care for, in a sense. And so I've been talking to Tiffany for about 2-3 times in the past week or two, and she's just been tuning me in to her story, letting me know, you know, where she came from, what she, you know, was into, how she just was, you know, trying to be there for her kids and just things of her nature. And I'm going to let you, you know, tell a little bit of your story, Tiffany, but I do want to start off by asking and going into the fact and letting the listeners know that you actually, you know, was pregnant when you was incarcerated, right?
Correct. Yes, I had to give birth while being in prison.
And that's, that's extraordinary in itself and something to go through. Now, how far gone were you in your pregnancy when you were incarcerated?
Well, when I was actually behind bars, I started at about 7.5 months pregnant, but I had been sentenced earlier than that. But I didn't. I wasn't incarcerated immediately. If that
Okay,
makes
okay.
sense.
Right, that's fine. That's fine. So around 7 months. So what I want you to do is I want you to walk through the day that you went into labor in a sense, and the way that you were treated in a sense, or the way that you felt like you were treated because you were incarcerated, how you felt with some of the people that you came in contact with during this day that you were going into labor. Can you share with some of the listeners?
Yes, I'd be honored to. So, basically, it wasn't an easy experience. It was the hardest thing I ever had to do, actually. Um, I had personally when I was in MDC Brooklyn. It's a federal institution. It's supposed to be for temporary individuals that are like going back and forth to court. But I was sentenced and I couldn't be transported because I was pregnant. So they were actually waiting for me to give birth, and then the plan was to transport me to like a permanent facility after the birth of my baby. Of course, they had periodic infirmary visits where the doctors there would like check my baby, make sure everything was okay and healthy, and they kept encouraging me that I needed to induce my labor. That was the first issue that I had. So when I didn't want to agree, I'm like, I want my baby to stay there in my womb as long as possible. Number one, I think I didn't want to let go of my baby. And number two, that was the healthiest, that's the healthiest thing for a pregnant woman to want to do.
Right.
So the fact that they were more interested in what was convenient for the facility as opposed to what was more convenient for me, that worried me. And so I got this negative energy because I didn't agree with their treatment plan. And so, they were just saying it was just inconvenient for them for me to give birth, like go into natural labor while being there in their institution. What ended up happening is I was overdue. Of course, I didn't listen, and I wanted to, naturally give birth. So I ended up going into labor while being in prison. I mean, on the bed in the institution, going into labor. I was like in a fetal position. I was about a week overdue, and I felt it in the middle of the night. And I'm like, wow, it's gonna happen today. I felt it in my sleep. So I remember one of the officers. She came to me and she's like, are you okay? And I was like, I'm feeling a little bit of pain. I guess they documented it, and then as the pain worsened, they transported me to the hospital. Okay, so before they transport you, let me just explain that there's a process. So they know that I'm 9 months pregnant, and they know that I'm having a baby. The entire institution is aware, the warden, everyone. And so they still have a protocol where I have to first go to the infirmary. Whoever's on staff would have to then call the doctor at home. The doctor at home would then have to make the determination whether or not I need to go to the hospital. And so I'm in pain through all of this. So I remember doing all of that and then having to be transported, walk. I had to walk to I would say it's about a mile or maybe a little less, but a long walk from one part of the institution to the other. They called it receiving and discharge, R&D. And so when I got there, the ambulance was there to meet me. I remember the officer, she might have been a dyke, I'm not sure, but she was a masculine type of woman, and she was very insensitive. I remember reaching out, trying to grab her, I really was in a lot of pain, and she was just like pulling back, like, don't touch me. And at that point, I realized, I'm really going to be in this by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I'm sorry, did you have a question?
No, I'm listening. No, go.
And so when I got, I remember being in the ambulance. I wasn't handcuffed. I think there's some type of law that was passed by the time that I was having my baby that I wasn't to be handcuffed on the way to the hospital. So I wasn't cuffed, thankfully. And I got there, and then the doctors and nurses were just like, oh, she's not ready. She needs to go back. So I'm like, wait a minute, do they understand, like, I'm not going back home? Do they know, like, do they not see this correction officer here? Like, I am going back to prison. I can't just be going back and forth, you know? But they're like, oh, well, she's not ready. We're not going to keep her here. So I had to then go back to the jail. So my labor had to progress in the jail. I walked all day. A lot of the inmates were very empathetic, rubbing my back, helping me. I drank tea. I mean, I took about 30 showers that day, hot showers. I had, like, there was nothing I could do. I was just crazy. I remember going and telling the officer, like, I think I'm leaking, like, fluids. And she's like, no, you're not ready. You need to dilate some more. And I'm like, no, I really need to, like, go. So now I know I'm leaking fluid because it happened in my previous pregnancy. And I'm just like, this is crazy. Eventually, my water broke all the way fully, like a whoosh.
Right.
And so then I was taken more seriously. I ended up going to the hospital then and there, of course, the protocol again. But this time the pain was hitting really hard. I couldn't even walk. They hadn't, you know, this is not something that happens often, so they tried to bring a stretcher. I'm sitting on the stretcher. The stretcher is, like, hitting the floor. It can't stay up. It's, like, broken. I don't know. So I'm, like, double over in pain, barely crawling, walking. I don't know. I ended up having to go to the infirmary again. This time I'm screaming because the first pregnancy I hadn't experienced it like this. I had an epidural immediately.
Right.
This time I was just like, wow. So screaming, I'm in pain. I really, like, it's like at this point I'm not knowing if I'm able to tolerate it. And so, again, the ambulance. But thankfully, I had another correction officer who was very empathetic. And she was just like, you're going to get through this. And she was helping me. And, you know, like the entire way in the ambulance, we got to the hospital. She was just great. I had the gown at this point, you know, front ways. I didn't have a hospital gown on the behind, like the back side of me. I was like leaning over. My behind is exposed. People were walking by. I did not care because I was in so much pain. But this woman, she helped me get through it. She really did. And so to this day, I'm very thankful for her. And, you know, I ended up, of course, I guess, I don't know if it was the stress level, but my baby stopped breathing properly. And so I had to have an emergency C-section. And, you know, despite me, you know, not wanting everything to go as natural as possible, I unfortunately had to have a C-section. You know, the doctors I had to sign, and then there's correction officers, and then there's no family, no one.
So nobody from your family was there?
No. I had, the sidebar I was going to say is that normally they don't allow anyone for the entire visit. But I was, like, very persistent with the ward, and I asked, like, previously, like, I'm going to need my husband to come. Like, this is not, I don't have a long time. 5 years is considered a short time. So what ended up happening is he okayed that my husband could come after the birth, which was not something that normally happens. They were very clear about that. But so at this time where I'm in labor and I'm, you know, trying to decide about the C-section, which I've never experienced, I'm not allowed to make a phone call. You know, I have these officers in my face, and it's just quick. And I'm, like, naturally not trusting the government because I'm like, what if I'm not really needing a C-section? Like, this is not my personal doctor. Like, you know, and then the doctor was like, your baby is going to die if you do not have this surgery. And when he said that to me, I was like, okay, then I just guess I have to do what I have to do. So, you know, the officer was there, of course. I remember her, like, putting on the garb and sanitizing her and whatever it is, which took a minute. And then they performed the C-section. My baby was born.
So you had concerns, though, you said, from the way your son looked, right?
Yes. After I had him, I was in, like it was about a day. I had a son previously, 3 years previously, and so he was yellow. He looked yellow, and he had like a cold in his eye. And I kept thinking, like, I think this might be a sign of an infection. So I tried to ask a couple of nurses, like, hey, you know, at this point the guards changed shift. They don't really have a, you know, I didn't know these guards, and it wasn't like the woman that had come in with me. So they were like insensitive, ignoring me, and I'm like, something is wrong with this baby. And no one paid me any attention. Oh, he's fine, he's fine. And then there was a change of shifts, and a nurse came in, and she was talking to me, and she said that she had someone close to her that was incarcerated. She was an Italian woman, and she said, you know, she was very empathetic, and I used the opportunity to say that I was concerned about my son. And so she took one look at him. She did a swab or something, I remember, on his forehead. And she took my baby, and she never brought him back. She said, oh, my gosh. She later explained to me after getting him situated in the ICU that he had severe levels of jaundice, and he could have gotten the brain damaged. And I believe that it's because of my status of being incarcerated. The respect level was minimized. Like I was treated inferior. I felt it. I knew it. Like they paid me no attention.
Wow, Tiffany, I appreciate that. And like I said, I really wanted the audience to know, because they don't really understand and know and hear the stories of what women truly go to. Only a female can go through giving birth in the, in prison, not a man. And the fact that, like you said, it was a lack of respect of how you were treated. You implored to the people that, your child is sick. We talked about this before. I'm quite sure the hospital billed the prison the same way they were, bill any other person having, a baby. So how much would it have really taken them to seek into seeing if your child was sick, making sure that, you were okay? The insensitive part on the guard's act when you reached out to her during this horrific time. I mean, it's traumatizing in itself that you're by yourself without your family. So I'm just so glad that you shared with us. Now we're going to come back because we have a commercial and Sadia's coming on. I still want to talk about your relationship with your son. Thank God he's doing good in the sense that when you gave birth to, but you had an older son too that we're going to talk about in the building of relationships, what that looked like when you talk about, therapy and once you were, released. So we're going to take a short break, Tiffany. And listeners, please don't go anywhere because we have our next guest coming up, Sadia Bagley, and she's going to talk about her experience. So stay tuned and stay live with more Labors Live.
Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Big delays on the Schuylkill Expressway this afternoon, eastbound side, all because of an earlier disabled vehicle. We are backed up from the Boulevard to South Street. More delays on 76 eastbound 202 to Gulf Mills and westbound Boulevard to Belmont. 95 southbound heavy Walt Whitman Bridge to the Girard Point Bridge. We had an earlier accident between Broad Street and Island Avenue that's been cleared out of the way. More delays, 95 northbound Allegheny Avenue to Bridge Street and Academy Road to Woodhaven Road. Backing up on the Vine eastbound side, the entire stretch 76 to 95. Boulevard heavy northbound Schuylkill to Broad Street in Jersey, backing up on the 42 freeway southbound right around Creek Road. Report brought to you by Mattress Warehouse's Clean Shop Promise. Save up to 50% on almost everything this week at Mattress Warehouse and get free next day delivery on all orders over $7.99. Mattress Warehouse's Home to Bed Match offers a 1-year price guarantee. Visit sleephappens.com for a location near you. For more traffic info, log on to sigalert.com. I'm Jason Lee with your Philadelphia area traffic.
COVID-19 has highlighted the need for digital equity and internet adoption programs. Comcast's Internet Essentials program is designed to connect families to low-cost, high-speed internet and laptops so students can be ready for anything. Since 2011, Comcast has connected 4 million students from low-income families to the internet through its Internet Essentials program. Learn more about how Internet Essentials is connecting students.
Olaniyan Adefume, author of the Book of Questions, needs your help. He is seeking out responses for an updated version of the Book of Questions Series 2. The topics of the book cover issues of religion, race, sex, economics, politics, and health. One example would be, what do you think of the Capitol riot of January 6, 2021? For more information, reach out to him directly at 215-678-3830 or email him at oadefumi@yahoo.com.
Are you looking for a job? Do you have skills in design, engineering, or computer programming? Get ready for Network, a virtual job fair with Technically Media. On Thursday, March 18th from noon to 6 p.m., the employers at Network are looking to learn more than just what's on your resume. Your personality and fit have real weight in the interviews. Technically is a partner of WURD Radio's Livelihood Initiative. Register for Network, the virtual tech job fair taking place on March 18th at WURDworks.com.
I went to check on Pop today. We put our hands up to the glass as if we were touching. But really, the only touching part was that we both tried to smile.
That's no way to say hello or goodbye. COVID-19 vaccines are here, but until enough of us are vaccinated, we'll all still need to help slow the spread. Keep a 6-foot distance, wear a mask, and avoid indoor social gatherings. Learn more about vaccines and slowing the spread at cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
It's Women's History Month, and we want to honor Black women authors by helping you level up and read up. Join the Forward movement and get a free copy of a book from one of the most influential Black women today. For a limited time, you can add The Little Book of Big Lies by Tina Lifford, She Came to Slay by Erica Dunbar, Sing Unburied Sing, a novel by Jesmyn Ward, or Acts of Faith by Jan Van Zant to your reading collection. Level up and read up. Go to wordradio.com/join now to join or renew your Forward membership and get your free book today.
WURD TV. We're streaming live video of this conversation right now. Tune in on YouTube at onWURD or on Facebook at Forward. WURD TV. Black Talk Media.
Welcome back. Welcome back to More Labors Live. I'm your host, Tony State, and I'm here today and the rest of the month celebrating Women's History Month, and we have women of strength and courage sharing their stories of incarceration, the unforgotten faces and voices. And we have with us to join Saidia Bagley. Hi, Saidia. How are you?
Hey, Tony. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Tiffany's on the line, too.
Hey, Hey, Sa.
So listen, Tiffany just told us the, compelling stories of giving birth to her son and, prison, the hospital, and things that happen of that nature. And I have you both ladies on because you all have different stories in terms of the connecting and continuing to connect with your daughter through prison. Tiffany had some struggles that we're going to talk about in a little bit, but I want Saidia you to share with us how you continue and what drove you to continue being involved in your daughter's life once you were incarcerated, because you had a little bit more support than some women do have, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was grateful for the support I was offered, the support I had from my family and friends. But what really prompted me to stay in touch was the fact that I had a mentor named Michelle West. Free her. She has a life sentence right now that is striving to get overturned. But she told me she had been in prison for, I think it's like about 15 years at that time. And she told me, Saidia, no matter what you do, don't lose connection with your daughter. And when I thought about what that would look like, I extended myself to reach out to the schools, because that's one of the things I've always been active in is her education. And I knew that would be a stepping stone in the right direction of staying connected with her in all aspects.
So how did you connect with the teachers? What did you do?
I wrote a letter. I wrote a letter to the principal at the time. I wrote a letter to her teacher because she had told me she was excited and she was telling me about her first day of school or whatever. And when I found out who her teacher was, I sent a letter and a self-addressed stamp and envelope, pretty much introducing myself, letting them know that although I was incarcerated, that I was an active part in my daughter's life.
Okay, that's good. Now, with Tiffany, Tiffany, you were married, right, at the time?
Yes, I was married.
And so basically you were the backbone of the household. Can I say that wholeheartedly?
Yeah. Yes.
And so with
Definitely.
and so with a lot of ladies who are, the strength of the backbone of the household, the foundation of your household literally cracked when you were incarcerated, right?
Yes, everything definitely fell apart.
So tell us a little bit, because like I said, you two have two different experiences pertaining to, the support and when it comes to being involved with your kids. So with you, Tiffany, by you being a backbone to your household, how did that foundation crack? How did that collapse? What happened with your kids?
Wow, so many things. I guess I could say, firstly, when it first happened, everyone, of course, in the household was very hurt. I had a 3-year-old son at the time. He didn't really understand what was happening. My husband at the time was just very weak. Like, he couldn't keep it together. He couldn't stay where we were living. It was just like he was all over the place and started dropping. He would have my 3-year-old outside late hours of the night in the street. I mean, I was hearing a lot of things, and like, our relationship ended quickly. We started to become distant from one another. He ended up starting a relationship with one of my close friends, and so he was even more distant. I mean, out of guilt. So
right.
Yeah, it was
and so I
hard.
assuming you didn't see your kids much then.
Sorry. So of course, my children were confused. They ended up going with his aunt, one of his aunts, which I hated. I never wanted them to be there. My first son is not by him, so she mistreated my first son, and he went through a lot of trauma as a result of my absence. It was hard on my kids. They were traumatized, and my communication was limited.
Right.
Because this woman wasn't in support of me being a parent. And then I couldn't find my husband. So it was just like, they were just out there. And then I, was going through my own trauma. So I reverted to the prison life. I started to mentally separate myself from the street.
Now, Sadia, yours was kind of different because your daughter's father, he basically was like, hey, I'm going to take care of what I need to take care of, right?
Absolutely, and we weren't in a relationship. He's just a great man. He's a stand-up guy, so he did what he was supposed to do in regards to his child. So I didn't even have room to try to shift from prison life to street life. I just, all my things came full circle for me. I've seen that so many times, as I spoke to you before, and I was telling you, I've seen so many times where caregivers and people who have the children, they shift they put a wall up, and they stop that communication that's so traumatizing to children and the families as a whole.
And so with you, Tiffany, like you said, it was a struggle for you it was a struggle for you to take that on in prison because your whole mentality changed, right? So now, you're having less communication with your son, but he was acting out. I want you to talk a little bit, Tiffany, because it was interesting. Remember we talked about how your son was acting up in school, and because you don't have a lot of time on the phone, how you try to balance the time of not basically disciplining him, but letting him know, listen, you can't act up. At the same time, showing him, talking about, showing him love and encouragement in that 10-minute time, trying to balance the two, without seeming that you're constantly coming at him about his behavior once he started acting up in school. Tell us a little bit about that balance.
Sure. I found myself being really strict from prison, which was a bad idea. When I would talk to the aunt, whenever I did get to speak to her, she just had a lot of complaints. And as you said, the main complaint was school, his behavior while he was there. So I tried to, discipline him from where I was. We only get 300 minutes. If you divide that each day, that's only about 10 minutes per day. And so, you know, he's looking for that love and looking for his mother to nurture him, and which I didn't know at the time, but he was not at all being nurtured. And so, you know, I found him like being a little resistant, not really wanting to talk. And, you know, I had to regroup and say, you know, whatever's happening, I have no control. I have to give him that love. And so I started to hold back on the strict conversations and the reprimanding and try to be a little bit more encouraging. And, you know, I saw a little difference in the way that he was able to communicate with me.
Now, Sadia, yours was different because your daughter visited almost like you said twice, 3 times a month, right?
Yes, it was
Sadia?
extremely different for me because I still felt they made me still feel relevant. You know, I was still active. So I had, even though it was only 300 minutes a month and things of that nature, there were letters, there were visits, there were things to keep our bond intact. The things I wrote about, we were able to discuss, you know, and what we didn't discuss there, we were able to piggyback off of the phone call into a visit and things of that nature. It was a whole cycle.
Okay. And so, and that's why I'm having you both on here. You know, it's not comparing. I want everybody to understand the different experiences when you're talking about maternal connection and maternal love that women go through in prison. One side of the aspect is when you have that support and people are there and encouraging it. And then the other part where you may have, you know, your child has to be around at times caregivers who doesn't have, you know, your best interest as the mother and with things that they're instilling in your child, you know, the way that they are, you know, the negative energy that they're giving your child, which is exuding in school, they're acting out of things of that nature. So people need to understand how important support is, how women need, when it comes to the children, to be encouraged to stay connected at any means necessary. And I want to ask you, Tiffany, did the prison have programs, any type of parenting, maternal, you know, programs that encourage you to stay close to your son?
I mean, to encourage me to stay close to my son, no.
Well,
they had parenting classes. I mean, that was as far as it went.
It was just basic. It was nothing whereas you could deal with the here and now.
No. And I actually lost. I feel like I lost connection. I had to shut my mind down from it, like mentally, where I just didn't even talk about the baby. And you know, I didn't know this baby. It was really traumatizing to me. I didn't have much to go on. I didn't really know much about him. And, you know, it wasn't on my terms. I had no say, none, not any. I would look at pictures and imagine. It was hard. It was rough.
But when you were released, right, and you were able to reconnect with your oldest son and some of your youngest son, you all were in therapy, right? You made sure that you went into therapy.
Yes, immediately, because I knew that we'd been traumatized severely. And if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be okay today. I was actively trying to seek a specific type of therapy that caters to my situation, because I knew that it wasn't like an average situation. And I was successful.
And go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying that I found exactly what I was looking for, and I only, give that to God, because it's like a program that caters to incarcerated children of incarcerated parents, so it was perfect. And so they helped me to transition. We all were in like individual therapy, group therapy, and family therapy. And I'm still in those therapies till today.
And so, Sadia, I want to ask you, because you had the support and you were involved and active as much as you could be, a lot with your daughter and things of that nature, how, when you came out of prison, you returned to your daughter, you guys just came just like it was, not saying it was, it was just like old times. There was you don't have therapy. Do you guys have therapy? Does she ask you about why you went to prison?
I tried to have that conversation with her before, and I remember her stating, you know, she wasn't really interested in the conversation about why I went to prison. She just, you know, when I returned, it was just, it's not that we were, it was an easy transition because I was still not on my own completely. I was I had to be in a halfway house, and there were other elements that she didn't really understand in the beginning. That's like, wait, I thought you were home. I thought you were free. It doesn't really seem like freedom. And we didn't get therapy for it. I got therapy on my own while incarcerated. I've done my own processing, and I still believe that she could use it. She's kind of against it, but I still feel like she could use it. I feel like my family in a whole could use it. But, yeah, I've been able to process things in my life, so I deal with people differently, you know, because I understand things that they don't understand, and I try to make it easier on them. Mm-hmm. Because I know my processes and the things I had to account for myself.
So, Tiffany, how's
being incarcerated or whatever?
So, Tiffany, how's your relationship with your oldest son now?
Oh, it's wonderful. It took a lot of work, though, to get there. But he is 100% on board. He's doing so well in school. Like, I can honestly say I'm happy with the way he's turning out to me. Mm-hmm. But, again, it took a lot of work.
And the therapy helps, right? You know, after you came home, the therapy helps you and your son because you both are in therapy, right?
I mean, yeah, because I didn't know how to parent. I naturally, you transition with your children. And so when I wasn't able to transition with them. I leave, I have one child, I come back, I have two big kids, boys. They run in circles around me, manipulating me like it was crazy. I'm like, I need a little bit of help here. And so through therapy and through, I took parenting classes, so many programs that I worked on my own personal development a lot for the first 2 years. It took a long time for me to feel like a normal family.
Okay. Well, listen, I'm so glad you all shared your stories. Don't go anywhere. We're going to take a break shortly, but we're going to talk about all of the good things that you all are into now. Both of these ladies are entrepreneurs, which I'm so happy and proud that, they really came back into society, did a whole 360, made sure that they, progressed, they persevered in a sense through everything that they had went through. And like I said, this is another reason why I wanted them to share their story, because they have been through the ringer and they have persevered. They have really jumped into it, persevered. They know they need the help. They ask for the help when it comes to resources. So we're going to talk a little bit about everything that you guys are into now in your lives and let people know what you have going on. Get some customers, get some support, all that good stuff. So we're going to take a quick break, ladies. Don't go anywhere, okay? And hold on. We'll be right back with more Labors Live.
This literacy tip is brought to you by AARP Pennsylvania. AARP Pennsylvania wants to share 3 simple words to keep you safe from scammers. Stop, think, and verify. When you get an unexpected offer or alarming news over the phone or other device, stop and ask yourself, is this for real? Next, think about content of the message. Is it too good to be true? Do you have to act now? Is there a threat involved? If the answer is yes, you should end contact. If you are concerned the communication may have been valid, independently verify it. For example, if the caller claimed to be with the government, look up the agency's phone number without relying on the results of a web search, as the numbers that result could connect you to a scammer, and inquire if there is an issue. This literacy tip was brought to you by AARP Pennsylvania.
We do all we can to ensure our kids are happy, healthy, safe, and strong. Having high-quality, low-cost health insurance helps make that possible. With CHIP, your child can have medical, dental, eye care, and more for free or low cost. Whether you're self-employed, unemployed, or your employee benefits are just too expensive, CHIP is there for you to help your child be strong. CHIP Strong. Apply or renew today at 800-986-KIDS or go to chipcoverspakids.com.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
The Black Words Book Club. WURD Radio's new monthly conversation on books that explore the African American experience through social, economic, and environmental justice issues. Tune in the second Tuesday of every month on Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro, 4 p.m. till 7 p.m. For April, WURD Radio is partnering with the Free Library of Philadelphia and showcasing their pick for its annual citywide reading program, One Book, One Philadelphia, entitled The Tradition by Jericho Brown. Be sure to listen live, as Nick Taliaferro will hold a contest for a giveaway book bundle that consists of 4 titles from Kensington's Defina's Authors of Color's newest release. Don't miss it, Tuesday, April 13th on Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro. Attention for WURD members. Get your copy and receive a 20% discount when you purchase at Harriet's Bookstore or Hakeem's Bookstore. For more information on the Black Words Book Club, visit wordradio.com. The Black Words Book Club is sponsored by Defina. Defina is an imprint of Kensington Publishing Corporation, America's independent publisher, concentrating on authors of color. WURD TV. We're streaming live video of this conversation right now. Tune in on YouTube at onWURD or on Facebook at ForWord. WURD TV. Black Talk Media.
Welcome back to More Labors Live, where we have the incarcerated women giving their stories, their voices, the unknown, forgotten souls at times of incarceration. I'm so thankful for you ladies today, Tiffany Volcane and Sadia Bagley, for just talking about, your story with your children, being involved, how it's important to be involved, to stay involved. Before we talk about everything that you're into real quick, if there is one program or one resource that the prison could offer when you talk about parenting, when you talk about staying close to your children, that they can do to encourage that connection in a sense, and you've seen other people go through it too, Sadia, I'm assuming, what would that be? What would that program, what would it entail?
Families and Children Together. CHX has a program, Families and Children Together. We were trying to get the women's sector off the ground. The prisons haven't been receptive. I reached out to several with a proposal. It's so necessary. It cuts out the dynamic of the other caregiver or parent or whatever it is, and just offers that incarcerated person the opportunity to build with their child with no other outside mitigating factors.
And so what that is a program where the individuals transport children with, say, their mother or their father, who's ever not locked up, and they bring them to the prisons, but they allow the children to meet with the parent who's incarcerated by themselves. They're not in the company of the parent or the caregiver that they live with. So they separate the kids so they can have private quality time with their incarcerated parent, instead of, the conversations being, what's the word? So not as open, you know what I mean? Not having that open conversation because you have another individual sitting there and listening to every word. So what that does is they allow them to connect in their own way. Because some caregivers, as you know, or individuals who are taking care of the children, they don't have all the time kind words about the parent who's incarcerated, so you don't want, them, they already have an impression on these young minds. So you want to be able to visit them and have quality time. Tiffany, what kind of program, or what do you think the programs need to be offered in prison to help make sure that the children stay connected?
I would just say, I guess on a broad spectrum, some sort of family therapy. As you can tell, I'm an advocate for family therapy. So, some type of program to facilitate better communication to help build the transition, to help make the transition easier when leaving prison. Maybe a program when an individual is short, maybe a year or less, to be able to really work collectively with even the caregivers, because they're also involved. They also, a lot of times they feel like they're losing a child. You're coming home and you're taking your kid back. So it's like, I feel like maybe they should be included too to make the transition a little bit smoother.
So since you're speaking, Tiffany, we're going to start with you. Tell us the great things that you're involved in and what you're doing now that you're home with your sons.
I'm sorry?
No, I said now that you're home with your sons.
Of course, I'm a mom first. I am a Christian. We do a lot of church activities. Secondly, I have a boutique, an online store where I sell accessories, fedora hats, statement pieces. I've been in business for maybe almost 2 years now. So then I have a book that I'm hoping before the year is over will be released, The Black Girl in Orange, where I'll be talking about my incarceration experience and, transitioning into freedom. And I'm soon to be visiting women prisons to talk about the same thing I'm talking about here today. There's something passionate within me. And so, through the, programs, nonprofit organizations, a lot of inspiring, a lot of encouraging to the same population, people that are leaving prison, to just encourage and let them know that they're not alone.
And Sadia, what are you into? Talk to us about all your business that you do. Sadia? Did we lose her?
Yes, I'm here. I'm
okay.
sorry.
I know you're probably working right now, so tell everybody where you're at right now, probably.
2832 Ridge Avenue. My new restaurant is a soul food spot in North Philly. Just opened January the 30th. I also still sell CMOS and CMOS products such as all skincare products like soap, creams, and things of that nature that help with eczema. What else? I have Lockdown Love, which will be coming soon. I'll be announcing a date soon, which honors the people who have become successful after incarceration, because there's so many of us who are out here doing great things and making an impact on our community. And, often people forget to still give us that extra cheer that to keep us going, and forget to show us the love that they sometimes showed when we were incarcerated, just to keep us encouraged and things of that nature.
I also want to direct people to your story, Sadia Bagley. Sadia, your story is on Walkies episode 3 on YouTube. So I did see it, and it was awesome. And if you want to learn more about her and her story, Sadia was called Walkies episode 3. It tells her whole story. Just Google her name, Sadia Bagley, and you'll have the information there. Is there a website for your boutique, your online boutique, Tiffany?
Yes, they can go to www.secondchancestobblossom.com. I'm also on Instagram, Shop Second Chances. Also on Facebook, you could just Google my name. Add my name, Tiffany Volcane.
And also, Tiffany's located in New York, and she does pop-up shops, right? So if you're in the New York area and you're listening, you can contact her, and she may be able to do a pop-up, social distance, of course, however that looks like, but you can connect with her if you're listening from that area. I want to thank you, ladies, so much for coming on, sharing your story, bringing awareness. I'm hoping that, you touch someone that hears you, that hears your story, some young female, or even if you're older, that you're into things, and to stop, because it can happen to you. We didn't talk about why these women were in prison, because the fact is, everybody, like I said before, we all have done something. Some people just get caught, some people don't. The important thing is to bring awareness to the treatment of women who've been incarcerated, to bring awareness, to let people know there's resources needed for women who have children, women who are the, backbone to the household, things that, the states need to and the federals needs to understand when it comes to the mother's love of a child. And when you separate that, the trauma that comes with it. So it's resources that we need to bring awareness to this, Women's History Month. And that's why you all are on here. So I thank you. I applaud you for telling your story, for having the courage to allow people in. And like I said, they can contact you all through your Instagrams, your Facebook, your website. Sadia, they can see your docuseries on Walker's episode 3. I thank you again. I will definitely be in touch. I've been talking to you all so much. I thank you, ladies. Thank you so much for joining me.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
for
Thank you for having me.
you guys. And thank
Yes,
you all
yes.
listeners.
That was really good, folks. I'm so glad we were able to have them tell their stories from this week and from last week. And like I said, remember the female stories of incarceration, the women. The women who have children, the women who were the back or are the backbone of the household and their needs, the support that they need while they're in there, staying connected with their children, making sure the caregivers who have their children, whether it's their fathers, their children fathers, their husbands, their, close family member, to make sure you're encouraging that relationship, to make sure that you have the child's best interest, but make sure to keep a mother a part of the child's life. It's very important to have that connection. That changes the whole way of thinking while they're in prison, whether they're going to get through this time or not. And like I said, I'm just, giving a platform for these women because normally we don't hear or we don't talk about the women, we talk about the men. And so I just want to make sure we hear their stories. We understand that giving birth to a child in prison is not something you just see on Lifetime. That is actually happening. And some of the empathy that has to go into that whole situation, maybe more training for those who work at the prison is necessary, whatever it takes to make sure. You spend a lot of money in these states preparing the prisons to open and things of that nature. But you're not preparing the people for when they leave the prison system. You talk about rehabilitation, it needs to be rehabilitation because people aren't their crimes. People commit crimes, things happen, and they have a chance to rehabilitate themselves. They deserve a second chance. And we're talking about those individuals having a second chance. So these are ladies who you're talking to who are entrepreneurs now, who are in therapy when most of us, we see that therapy is something that we don't even want to think about, that we don't want to encourage our family who we know need it. These ladies are taking the steps to be better, to do better, for their children, for their society, to be a part of a successful society. And like I said, they're entrepreneurs. And they are putting their money where their mouth is. And they want to make sure that, too, they are giving back. They are visiting prisons. They have programs. These are the people that, you want to get in contact with city council or your legislature, state representative. You want to get in contact with these individuals who know the stories, who understand the needs of the prison system when you talk about women and their voices. And with that being said, I hope that this story continues to touch someone, will touch someone. Please change the minds of people when you know that they've been incarcerated. They deserve a second chance. We all do. With that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, folks. I appreciate you for taking the time and listening these 55 minutes or so. Continue to listen to WURD, WURD, where Black Talk Radio is everything here that they have for you. So thank you so much for the Labors Live show. Have a great weekend. Keep your mask on, folks. See you later. Bye-bye.